In Germany, it's doing better than it used to for a long time. You know, Germany pumps a lot of money into the funding of films and into running film schools. So every year you have 100 new film directors, and the film economy is small, so about 2 of them survive as film directors.
Really?
But the competition is so severe that you have a few good new films every year. Problem is, how do these people continue to make a living? How are they enabled to make their second or third good film? And that's very difficult.
The first film is easier?
The first film is easy because it's usually the film school that pays for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some funds for the second film, but there are no funds for the third film.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big problem, and also the market is just flooded with 100 new directors every year.
That's all that comes out of the film schools? Is about 100 people?
No, it's just the directors. I mean, we have 6 big film schools in Germany, but now you have 600 programs at universities where you can study the media, whatever that means. So it's a lot, and so in Germany it's a sort of an artificial. A lot of money goes into it, but the quality is quite high. But it's in a way an artificial world because it's so heavily funded. But outside Germany, things haven't changed very much. German film has a reputation, I think, in documentary filmmaking, in animation, but not really in the big fiction film business.
German has a reputation in animation too?
I think so.
Yeah.
There are a lot of, especially special effects companies, small special effects companies from the southeast of Germany, from Baden-Württemberg.
Mm-hmm.
The film school in Ludwigsburg focuses on that, but also there are a lot of small companies around the Bodensee and near Stuttgart, and they're very good at animation and at special effects. But the German film industry can in no way compete with the American film industry or the French film industry.
Italian?
Italy? Did you say Italy?
Italy, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about the Italian film industry. They still make a lot of good films there. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. So who are the top German directors, producers going in Germany right now?
I think for the last 10 years or so, Christian Petzold has been the most interesting film director here. Mm-hmm. Also, still Werner Herzog. He's still a brilliant documentary filmmaker.
Yeah.
And from the same generation as Christian Petzold, there's Andreas Dresen, there's Hans Christian Schmid, there's Oskar Röhler. They're all the same age. They're all in their early 50s. Mm-hmm. And there are a few younger guys like Sebastian Schippert, or even women, a few, like Angela Schanletz. So I think there's a lot of talent.
Talk about their films.
Well, Christian Petzold, I think he's the one whose films I find the most remarkable. He makes films that are very precise social studies and fairy tales at the same time, which is very difficult to achieve. I think my favorite German film of the last 20 years is probably Yella by Christian Petzold. But there are also other ones. There are a lot. This is the generation. People my age now. I mean, all born in the early 60s, and they do very interesting stuff. Very different films. Andreas Dresen is a guy who does social realism films with theater actors mainly. He's from East Germany. This morning I saw his the final rehearsal of his opera production here at the National Theatre.
Really?
He also directs opera.
Wow.
Or people like Dito Zinzadze, who is hardly known. He's Georgian. and most people don't even know him, but his films are brilliant. He's a little bit older, he's in his early 60s, I guess. Oscar Röhler with his melodramatic style, they're very different. There's not a tendency, a general tendency, but it's I don't know, these people have a name, and it's very difficult for young directors who are in the late 20s to make a name for themselves.
How is German film doing inside the country? What is the percentage, and maybe?
I don't know the recent figures, but it must be around 20%.
I would say 20,
box
yeah.
office.
And internationally, how is German film out there?
I'm sure less than 1%.
Less than 1%?
A lot less than 1%.
Has German film done well in any festivals outside of Germany lately? I mean, any
at the more exotic festivals, yes, but not at the big and renowned festivals like Cannes, Venice, Toronto a little bit, yeah, but Cannes is not really interested in German films. Well, there's a lot of film funding in Germany. You can get funding for the development of your screenplay, for production, for distribution, for everything. But you usually have to come from a film school. If you're not a graduate of a film school, it's very tough. You usually have to have television on board of your production, and then it works pretty well. So there's a lot of funding, and it's usually the system is usually that if you're successful, you have to pay back the loan. If not, it's just it's just gone.
What about distribution in the world? Is German distribution companies very active with German films or other films? No,
I don't think so.
Not too much.
You mean outside Germany?
Yeah.
No, there are a few world sales companies like Bavaria or but I don't think it's big. Not like the French independent world sales companies.
How about television in Germany? Is that in America right now? The American TV is so powerful, they say, and how's it doing in Germany?
Yeah,
German's tough too, isn't it?
It's the most important player in film.
Is it?
German television. There are two publicly funded entities. It's the first program, ARD, and ZDF, second channel, and they basically co-produce almost everything that's there, which is there are two sides to the medal, because the people who are in charge of the film co-production at television, they have a clear vision of what their audiences are like, and that's not always good, because in the 70s television was a sort of a motor of renewal and progress, but it's not that anymore. And also, young people don't watch television anymore. I don't know anybody under 30 who has a television set. They don't watch it anymore. And I think the people responsible for television in Germany, they're trying not to realize that. I think in a way, subconsciously they know, but I think radio has a brilliant future. I don't think television does.
Why radio?
Because you can listen to the radio whatever you do. You can drive your car. Okay, you won't drive cars for very much longer, we know that, but you'll always do something where you need your hands and you have to look at something, but you can still listen. But television, I don't know anybody who watches television.
What about the issue of television being made for the internet?
Yeah, that's a different thing, but then it's not. The idea of television is some sort of real-time experience. That's more like a library. You stream. It's like iTunes. You stream what you want to listen to or what you want to watch. I think that has a big future, but that's not television as we know it.
How is that in Germany? How strong is the television companies producing internet products, so to speak?
Not very much, because they're not allowed to. There are a lot of juridical restrictions on how long they're allowed to show their stuff on the internet. Because the publishers, newspaper publishers and other media, they fought lawsuits to keep television as far as possible out of the internet. So they're allowed to, in average, show their stuff for 2 weeks and then they have to take it off the internet.
How much control does the German government or the people have over their content on the internet?
No control at all. I mean, you can upload stuff yourself, but I don't think. I mean, you always have some control when you're a customer, when you pay for something, but you have no control over what the public television does. And I think I know a lot of young people who watch the new type of American serials, like, I don't know, Homeland or whatever. That's very popular, but they don't watch classical television anymore.
So isn't that a segment of the market that's being taken over by the Americans again?
Yeah,
and I mean, what do we do in Europe to make it more homegrown, so to speak? You know?
I don't know. I mean, there are some attempts to do that, and there are people who've done. People like Dominic Graf have shot long pieces of crime and detective stories that you can segment into little bits and pieces and stream on the internet. Other people have done it, but so far the American, I think it started with HBO, but now there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's Netflix and you can watch everything. Everything's around all the time. And the Americans are very strong with that. And I don't know what it's like in other European countries, but in Germany, I think that by far the biggest share of the market is American serials. And the young people all know English, so they have no problem watching it in the original version. Old people don't do that. They want their stuff in German, and they're not getting. I think my generation is sort of the border, and I'm 53 years old. But people younger than me, they rather wait for a new film to be available on Amazon or Netflix or Love Films or whatever, and then they watch it with a bowl of popcorn on their sofa, streamed onto their computer rather than going to the cinema.
Netflix is very interesting too. They want to expand around the world. They want to release movies, not only that they own, but the ones that they control before they're released in the theaters. How's that playing out in Germany? How's Netflix here, and what's?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too early to tell, but if I had to bet, I would say they will be very successful. They've only begun not so long ago,
right.
A few weeks ago or a few months ago, but they will be very successful, I'm sure. And the interesting thing, when Amazon is doing the same stuff, even Woody Allen is shooting films for them now. Or is that Netflix? I think it's Amazon. I'm
not sure.
But it doesn't matter. There's a sort of a convergence of data. They know what music you like. There's this new Apple streaming service. So all these platforms, they all know your taste. They know what you like, and that goes directly into the production of new stuff. So it's not only that they offer you the stuff they think you like, but they also produce stuff that they know the majority of the users like. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and in the end nobody will like that anymore, because if it turns out that I like to eat schnitzel, that may be true, but I don't think I like to eat schnitzel for the rest of my life. When I listen to the radio in my youth, all the things I discovered, all the music I learned to appreciate was music I did not like at first when I listened to it the first time. And I think if you eliminate coincidence and random experience, it'll be much more difficult for people to develop their taste. That's the big cultural danger I see. I don't care about the economy. I don't care that they make billions and billions. But I don't believe there'll be more diversity in culture because of these big platforms that offer films, music, books, and so on. I think it'll lead to the opposite.
Well, I know a lot of production companies in the United States are creating independent production houses in different countries around the world for the purpose of creating material that can be used not only for the local market in that country, Spain, for example, but also for their international sales. What do you think about that, and how does that relate to? I mean, Germany doesn't seem to be doing much of that either. I would say.
Bunch is there's Wild Bunch
Yeah,
Germany, and
that's
I
true.
think they started producing films too.
They are okay. Okay.
But
Okay.
it's. I think that's totally legitimate. I don't think it makes sense to criticize. If you look at film as a business, it doesn't make sense to criticize businessmen for behaving like businessmen.
Yeah.
That's nonsense. Of course, I would do exactly the same thing. I think it's totally legitimate. The other point is, what consequences does it have for the richness of cultures? That's a different question. But that basically.
What do you mean? That's interesting. What do you mean by that? The richness of cultures.
The diversity. At the moment, our cultures, the many cultures we have everywhere, are very, very different, and you see diversity disappearing everywhere. Cultural diversity, biological diversity, everything gets more. It's an effect of globalization, and that's dangerous and it's a shame. But it's also not the fault of these enterprises. They're just doing what could have always been predicted they would be doing in such a situation. So the only way you change things is by your pattern of consumption. You stop consuming that stuff. That's the only way you can change it.
Yeah, but how would a person change their pattern of consumption if they're being, so to speak, analyzed and information and informed to do things that are good, maybe for?
I don't know. I mean, I don't listen to. I don't know. There's a. If you think of country and Western music, there's a lot of good stuff, but 90% of it is industrialized stuff that's really awful, and I don't listen to that. So they lost one consumer. It'll not be the end of industrial country and Western, but that's the only thing you can do. You can try to develop your own taste, but as I said before, that becomes more and more difficult because these big corporations, they know your taste. And they create your taste and they manipulate it and then cash in on it. So it's becoming more and more difficult. But it's still your own decision whether you want to play along or not.